How do atoms get heavier? Hello, everyone out there. I'm Thomas, and this is my channel. Welcome. I do mostly educational videos. I'm working on Tree of Life videos right now, but I do all kinds of other subjects, mostly based on what you would maybe call crackpot science. People who've spent their whole lives working on something in obscurity and you know came up with magnum opus that they wrote at their end of their lives to summarize their whole life's work, and we never paid any attention to it. And so some of them probably were crackpots, and but some of them weren't, and some of them really came up with some incredible stuff that nobody knows anything about. And so I'm trying to spread some of that information out. And like I said, one of the first things I do is the Tree of Life. Now, this doesn't have any specific author, although people who have interpreted the Tree of Life have made a big impression on how other people interpret it. But this model comes from way back, at least as far as ancient Egypt, probably further. And who knows exactly how it has been used over the years, but the way I use it, or at least one of the ways that I use it, is to map out our faculties of consciousness. And you might also, call that facets of consciousness, or aspects of consciousness, or abilities of consciousness. And as you can see, there are 10 different circles or spheres. Number 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then there is a thing here called the abyss. And then there is a 0 above the tree. So that is 12 total categories, or 12 faculties or abilities of consciousness. And you can enumerate them like this. This 10th sphere is about our survival, our instinct, our sense of survival, and fight or flight. What needs to be done with the body, with our own body, to keep it healthy. And this is kind of like our reptilian brain. And then this is more like our mammalian brain. This is the ninth sphere, which is our domestic consciousness, the consciousness that we're picking up in the home in the first few years of our lives, when we are highly receptive to our outside influences, and particularly our caregivers. And we are just soaking everything up from our environment, and we're learning at a rapid rate, and then we see what they do, we copy it, we memorize it, and then we try to imitate it. And we try until we learn how to imitate it, and then that becomes one of our habits, just like theirs. So we pick up a huge amount of influences from our caregivers, from just copying what they do. And then unfortunately that is blind, so we copy what they do, good or bad. And then the eighth sphere is kind of similar, but this is the ninth sphere in the domestic space. This is in the public space. So out in the real world, so-called, where the institutions are located, the establishment, all the expert opinion, the paradigms, the conventional wisdom, and these are things that are fed to us through our schools and through our churches, through the media, through the word on the street, and all kinds of other public venues that are indirectly or directly controlled by the establishments, the institutions. And we're told that we're supposed to believe these things, and that we're supposed to kind of live our lives based on these things. And we are, we use our logical faculty to justify those things, to rationalize them. Say, okay, this is how things are. Oh, don't you know that? Everybody knows that, and things like that. So we're using our logical faculty to justify the things that we're told that we're supposed to believe in. And so this is a legitimate faculty or ability of consciousness, our rational thinking process and our belief systems, but it's being kind of perverted here at the asphere by the institutions. Um, so this is kind of a double-edged sword. All these are really double-edged swords until you get up to the higher levels. Okay, then where the eighth sphere is about the real world, the seventh sphere is about the imaginary world. So the seventh sphere is largely about people who are have experienced the eighth sphere. They've they've experienced all the conventional wisdom and all the paradigms that they've been fed, and they're like, something isn't quite ringing true here. There's a problem. I'm not sure what it is, but I imagine something different. And so they smell a rat here. They use their discernment, and they see that there's a problem. They come over here and try to utilize some of the faculties or abilities of consciousness over here, which include our creative spark, our intuition, our inspiration, our pleasure principle, our ability to put things into harmonious wholes, whereas the eighth sphere is about separating things out into categories. The seventh sphere is about putting them back together into harmonious arrangements. And so these are the things that we use in order to, in the seventh sphere, in order to construct an alternative, which in many cases is like some type of intellectual property, a song, a story, a novel, a play, an invention. These are all things that are produced here in order to improve upon what's going on at the eighth sphere. So the seventh sphere is on the level of the eighth sphere, but it's attempting to kind of upgrade the eighth sphere. But it also, as a form of inspiration, the inspiration gives us that 1% of a push in the direction of a spiritual path. And if we're able to kind of assemble the 99% perspiration of the hard work that it takes to climb up this path, then we begin our spiritual journey. Our journey really starts here at the seventh sphere with the kind of the formulation of our secret mission in life. Where we're all born with certain skills and abilities that define who we are, that define what we're here for. And if we can tune into that, then we gain kind of the path of least resistance in life, where all the forces are in our favor because we chose our path, and our path is to bring out our innate mission in life, and that starts us walking this path. In first place we get is the sixth sphere, which is our free will faculty, defined as our ability to pay attention and our ability to make decisions. So we find ourselves in general paying attention down the tree. So we pay attention to our habits and to our belief systems, and even to our survival. These are things that are comfortable for us, so they're easy to pay attention to. We've already done the work, and we've already experienced these things, and these things are all rehearsed and they're all old hat. So it's easy for us to pay attention here. But if we use the other aspect of our free will, our decision making, and decide to change the vector of our attention, because our attention is a direction. We pay attention to something. So it's a vector, and we have to change the direction of our attention in order to focus on the higher aspects of life, the higher spiritual qualities and abilities that we have. Then we start making progress on the spiritual path. Unfortunately, this requires a little bit of courage, because it's so much easier to just focus on the bottom of the tree instead of coming over here and focusing on the largely undeveloped spiritual terrain, which, in many cases makes us kind of like looking into the unknown, and the unknown is a scary prospect. So we have to ignore these influences here, and we have to ignore our fear. Now, the fifth and the fourth sphere work very much together. The fourth sphere is like the articulation of the natural law, as opposed to the man-made law. The fourth sphere is the articulation of the natural law, and the fifth sphere is the enforcement of that law. This is also what you'd call karma. Karma, as you sow, so shall you reap. And our karma, we get into a conversation with our karma. We act, and to the extent that we create karma, it comes back to us. And the karma is generally based on violence, waste, and violation. And so if our acts are wasteful or violent, we get that feedback. And so we can gradually fine-tune our behavior to create less waste and less violence. And so the fifth sphere can be thought of as a form of nonviolence, whereas it's known as really like the god of war, Mars, the god of war. But at least in the Egyptian, it's thought of as the god of ending wars, and that's done through being able to clean up our wasteful behavior. And so the knives and swords and blades, other blades, sharp blades that are characteristic of the symbolism of the fifth sphere, are not for slaying our, committing violence, but they're for slaying our enemies, which are our bad habits. So this is an aspect of slaying our conditionings and our bad habits, to create less waste and less violence. Now, the fourth sphere is the articulation of that law, which comes from long decades, centuries of observation about how nature actually works. Also, within that is investigation and examination and experience and experimentation and measurement. These things all go into fulfilling our cosmology, which is like a theory of everything, like from the great holy books to the more modern theories of everything, grand unified theories. These things are not infallible, but they are much closer than just like the commandments or the decrees of or the codes of the eighth sphere. The fourth sphere also includes the other universal aspects, such as universal love, the ability to love unconditionally, to give seeking nothing in return, to love our enemies, and also the universal language, not English or Spanish, but nonverbal communication, telepathy, and other forms of innate language that other people can understand without having to be educated about it. Okay, then the abyss here is about our psychic powers, two real powers, psychic receptivity, our ability to tune into omens and recognize them, and then also our psychic heat, which is our ability to act upon those omens once we recognize them. And again, that psychic heat requires some courage. Then we have the 3, 2, and 1, which are our basic divine qualities within: omnipotence, all-powerful; omniscience, all-knowing or wisdom; omnipresence, all present at once, a unifying factor. So this comes from being able to tune in. Omnipotence, all-powerful, comes in from being able to tune into sound and synchronize sound. And then the second sphere is more about light, coherent light, and being able to see the solutions to our problems, because we're able to see with a beginner's mind. We're able to kind of block out all of our conditionings, especially our thought process, and to see deeper into toward our deepest center, toward our creator within. So this here is the what you would call the ether, the thing that underlies the whole universe. It is at the center of absolutely everything. And so it connects us all because it's at the center of me, and it's at the center of you. It's at the center of everything else. So we're all connected in this universe. And then the 0 is really like not part of this universe. It's part of the creator, but it's not part of the universe. So it's part of the creator that the creator reserves for itself. So the creator the creator takes care of this universe, but it may or may not, take care of other things too. It's a mystery. We don't know. But, the creator certainly has the freedom to, be participating in other universes or other realities we don't know about. We don't know that. So that's kind of what the 0 sphere represents. In particular, it represents inner peace, which is, kind of the ability to be at peace no matter how chaotic things become, because you know that you're in the womb of the creator. And so that ultimately whatever is happening to you is exactly what's supposed to be happening to you. And, it's all part of the plan. Okay, now, with my model, what I've done is I basically superimposed the whole tree, all of the 12 faculties, onto each one of the faculties to break it down to another level of detail. So, the 9th sphere has its own 12 faculties, and the 7th sphere has its own 12 faculties. So that ends up being 12 by 12, which is 144. So 144 like mini abilities or mini faculties of consciousness, which I call the stages of life, but not chronological stages, but dramatic stages. So these are all the different stages of life that we go through as we travel on our journey of life. And if you'd like me to send you a list of those 144 different faculties, fractal faculties, just let me know, and by clicking the link in the description, and I'll send it out to you for free. Now, as we go through these videos, I'm featuring one of the 144 fractal faculties or abilities or stages of life every day. And so today we are looking at number 44. And number 44 is, the question is, how do atoms get heavier? Number 44 is part of the 7th sphere, but it is the abyss fractal of the 7th sphere. So this is the abyss within the 7th sphere. Generally, we think of that as the 7th sphere, the abyss, as we said, has to do with psychic powers. but it also has to do with magnetism and electromagnetism. When it is within the abyss itself, it tends to be about magnetism. But when it is a fractal, the abyss fractal of one of the other spheres, then we tend toward electricity. So this is the abyss within the seventh sphere. And the seventh sphere is about congregating, putting things into harmonious wholes, creative spark, creating something that hadn't existed already, and then, discernment, inspiration, intuition. These are all qualities of the seventh sphere. And so that comes into play, and then the other thing that comes into play is the electric qualities of the abyss. So here we go. This is called isotopes and ion level. And just, to keep you somewhat encouraged, the abyss is, to me, the hardest thing to understand. So, you end up having to deal with a lot of scientific and chemical, physical terms that you may not have. Like if you have been out of high school for a while, this is probably stuff that you thought that you'd never have to listen to again. But just bear with me, and some of this stuff might sink in. I use a different form of physics and chemistry that mostly I got from the reciprocal system of theory, and so it's a different formulation. We'll be getting into that also later. But here we go. Number 44, isotopes and ion level. Stage number 44 is about how atoms vary themselves amongst the same element depending upon environment. An isotope is a variation of any atom. For example, the carbon atom has various isotopes. All are atomic number 6, but they have different atomic weights. For example, carbon 12 and carbon 14. They are both carbon, but they have different qualities. Their distribution is statistical. There's a lot more carbon 12 than there is carbon 14, but they both exist. The difference is caused, the variation is caused by the compound neutron. So it is possible to modify isotopes by adding or removing compound neutrons, which a compound neutron is a combination of a proton and an antineutrino. A proton in the reciprocal system is enumerated as 1, 1, negative 1. And an antineutrino is 1/2, 1/2, 1. And so that balances out, that adds up to -1/2, negative 1/2, negative 1/2, 1 for the antineutrino. And so that adds up to 1/2, 1/2, 0, which is the compound neutron. The free neutron, a proton and an antineutrino, the simplest life unit. An atom acquires an isotopic charge that leads to isotopic variation. Isotopic charges are inward charges. It is hard to charge an already inward rotation like an atom, but it can be produced under the right circumstances and can be maintained if the separation is forcibly maintained. Isotope is determined by the number of compound neutrons captured by an atom, which, since it is in a region of time, and since we cannot see time, we only see its reciprocal in equivalent space. So we see it as a second power relation and reduced by what's called the interregional ratio, which is the amount of measurement that is lost in the translation across a time or space boundary. So we can figure out the center of the zone of isotopic weight by taking the atomic number, multiplying by 2, and then adding in the gravitational charge, or the isotopic charge. So that is 2z plus g, which is the isotopic charge. And g equals I times z to the second power divided by the interregional ratio. Z is the atomic number. So, you have, and I is the ion level. The ion level is a quantized general local environment that determines the number of charges that can be supported in that location or vicinity. Different areas in the universe and on the planet and in the solar system have different ion levels, and that is basically an environmental influence. But those numbers that's quantized. So your ion level is either 0, 1, 2, 3. It's an integer, and that determines how you figure out the amount of isotopes that you have. And you use this formula, which is the atomic number to the second power over the interregional ratio. So that's how you figure out what the isotopic range of any particular atom is. In an atom, we must distinguish between rotational and vibrational mass. I believe that compound neutrons are rotational, but we see them as vibrations. And so the stable or the normal ratio of rotation versus vibration is determined by the ion level. And just generally, elements can have many different isotopes, or just one, or none. The more stable the element, the more isotopes it has. I guess it can't have none, because even just if it has none, it's really having one, because every element has an existence. And so if it only has that one existence, it's still an isotope. So elements can have many isotopes or just one. The more stable the element, the more isotopes it has. Okay, if you made it through that, you can congratulate yourself, and it's good to stick with it. Some of this material is very difficult, but when we get it kind of organized and go back through it, it'll start to make sense. The pennies will start to drop. The most important thing to do is really just to be able to remember the diagram, learn the diagram, and learn the correspondences. What does each sphere mean, just in general, not any type of real specifics like what I'm giving you here. This is kind of a little bit more advanced than what you need just as a beginner. This is for people who already kind of know the tree, but once you get to that point, you'll be able to get great benefits out of these individual ones. But you really need to kind of just take a picture of the tree of life, or better yet, draw one yourself, and put it on your refrigerator or in your bathroom wall, or both, and just let it sink into your consciousness. Kind of just gaze at it and observe the different relationships, and just kind of gently remind yourself what each one is about. And you'll find that you'll gradually start to get it, and it will start seeping into your consciousness, and it will start working for you. And it will yield great fruit, because it's a mnemonic device that helps you in really all of your situations and scenarios as you go through life. It gives you a certain grounding, and it gives you a certain advantage, because you're able to prioritize your all your different behaviors. And one of the main things that is troubling about the spiritual path is ambivalence. We don't sometimes know how to act, because we're torn between kind of like the old way that we did it and this new way that we're about to do it, and we don't really know where to find that balance. And so the tree of life really does give us a lot of perspective and a lot of kind of solutions to problems that we have. And just, but it's non-dogmatic. It doesn't tell you what you're supposed to do. It allows you to kind of arrive at what you're supposed to do by simple following the logic where it leads you, just following the numbers where it leads you. Okay, if you would like, you can click the link in the description for me to send you the free list of the 144 fractal faculties. You can also like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And you can, if you'd like to donate, my Cash App and my Venmo accounts are there. So you can just shoot me something so that I keep going with all these different videos, although I'm going to keep going anyway. But it will help, and I would really appreciate it. Otherwise, have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow.